Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K. Thanks so much for stopping by and checking out my latest video. Today I will be doing a tutorial on how to create these adorable pockets that you can use in your junk journals or as a packaging idea for Happy Mail. The first thing that we're going to do to create these pockets is we're going to create the little paper clip closure that's at the top of the pocket. You can see right here. And so what you do need for this is you will need a hot glue gun. You do need a type of paper, scissors, some sort of lace, an embellishment for the top, which I'm using a little snippet, but you could also use a button if you don't have anything like that. You do need paper clips. I am going to be using some eyelash trim. And then I'm also going to be using a paper punch. And this one is from Stampin' Up! So to start with, you're going to take your paper punch and you're going to punch two pieces out. And you guys can, if you don't have this type of paper punch, you can use a circle or a square. It doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to punch that twice. We have two little pieces right here. So we are going to kind of do a little bit of a hidden paper clip. So I'm going to take a paper clip. I think I'm going to take the gold one in here. And I'm going to put the bigger end. I have to decide which side of the paper I want to show on the back side. The front you really won't see because we will cover that up. And so I'm just going to take my paper clip, and there's two little spots on your paper clip. There's the small inside and the larger outside. So I'm going to put the larger outside showing on the back. I'm going to use this as my back. I'm going to hook it on so then that bigger piece is back there, and this is what you'll use to hook on to your top of your little envelope or your pocket that we're creating. So I'm going to flip this back over, so now it's the small side. And I'm going to glue this right on top of that. So take your hot glue gun. You can also use another type of strong adhesive if you don't want to use your glue gun. And I just cover the whole thing with hot glue. And then I go ahead and stick this other piece of paper right on top. So here's what we have so far. There's the front and the back. So next you do need a piece of lace. You can either cut up a piece from a lace panel or off of another type of trim. And so I do have a remnant left over from this lace right here, so I'm just going to use that. So you just cut it to kind of fit. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, it can just be a remnant. And I'm also going to switch over to Fabri-Tac glue. I just don't like using too much hard glue or hot glue on my projects. And you just need to put a little bit on your paper clip and then layer your lace. You could also use cheesecloth if you don't have lace. And then next I'm also going to take a little bit of eyelash trim, and this is yarn that you can buy. I do find this a lot of times at the thrift store, and that's usually where I pick it up, but you can also find it like at Hobby Lobby. They sell it in different colors. And so I do have a little piece here, and then I'm also going to go ahead and take a little snippet, but again, if you don't have that, you could also use some sort of button. And I just kind of roll it together because it's just going to be a little background piece for underneath here. And so again, there's a little bit of glue. I can still feel it, but I'm going to add a little bit more of the Fabri-Tac glue on top. I've also used Eileen's tacky glue to make this part of this, and that works fine too if you don't have the Fabri-Tac glue. And so I've glued that down, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue my little snippet down. And I'm going to put that right there. So we'll go ahead and let that dry. Here's the back side again while we go ahead and decorate our little pocket. So again, this is just a little closure for our pocket that we're creating. And we're creating a pocket similar to this. And so for this step, you will need some sort of pocket to decorate. And so I will be decorating another paper bag looking pocket that looks like this. And I just wanted to show you guys, they do come in packaging that looks like this. And it just says paper bags, and in this one it's by Colorbach brand. There's 24, and I actually find these packs at Walmart, kind of where they have their crafting aisle or next to some of their wedding crafting items. I find these bags, and you can get the whole pack, I think, for like $2 or something like that. It's pretty cheap. But if you don't have them, I do know that there are tutorials out there on how to create little pockets. But if you are also looking for a die, I do use this die quite a bit, and it creates a very similar pocket to this. It just, the top curve is a little bit different, is the only difference. And this one's from Sizzix, and it's called Pocket with Scallop Edge. So if you are looking for a cutting die, I do recommend this one. It's one I do like, and I do use it, but for the price that I pay for these, it's next to nothing, and it takes a lot of time to stand and to make 24 bags. So I'm just going to use the store-bought ones. So I'm going to use one of those, and for this, again, you will need something for your background on there, and I'm going to be using some ink, and then some paper to put on it, and you can use some music sheet paper. I have part of a doily that would work. I also like to add, you can either add more eyelash trim, or I still have some coffee dyed or tea dyed cheesecloth left from before. And also I have some of this trim still left, so I'm going to go ahead and add that on there somewhere. And then you need some other little decorations, and you can use some little flowers. I have some little ribbon roses that I found, my mom actually found for me at the thrift store. She found this whole bag for 99 cents, and I've used a lot of it, but there's still quite a few in here. So I could use those, or I could add some buttons. And then the last thing that I like to put on, or what we'll be putting on, is some sort of photo, little photo, vintage photo. And I have a whole bunch that I've cut up here, but I did want to show you guys. I did purchase a kit from Tsunami Rose where she has vintage photos. You can easily find some of these on Pinterest also. But in hers are bigger size. They actually, normal size, they print off like this and you get 4 on a page. But I do shrink them down, and I can fit 4 of those onto a page. And I just wanted to show you what it looks like when I shrink them down. And then I go ahead and cut them out. And so I'm just going to pick one. And some of these I printed on glossy paper, and some of them are on matte photo paper. Just seeing if anything. And of course I like all these images, but I think I'm just going to use, yeah, I'll just use that one. So the first step that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink my edges of the little pocket. That just gives it a little bit more of a vintage feel, or if you go really dark, it can make it have a little bit more of a grungy feel to it. And you can also change up your colors, and that's going to give you a whole different feel. So like if you added a little pink, it might give you a little more of a shabby chic kind of vintage feel to it. And I am going to be covering up most of this, so I'm just, again, just inking the edges. And then I'm just going to go ahead and ink the back, just because I don't know how I'm going to attach this in a journal down the road. But you could also use these little pockets too if you want in Happy Mail, and put in some sort of small little goodie for the recipient. So there's all sorts of little options for these types of little pockets. And so now I got to decide on this past one that I have here. You can see I have some music sheet paper, so I could put that, and I might do actually both music and the and the doily, I think, because I have this half doily that's just sitting here, so I might as well use that up. So I'm going to just rip my music paper, and this edge right here is bugging me. So this is vintage music paper, so I bought it at the thrift store, and our thrift store had a whole bunch of old music in a folder that someone owned. I think this one actually has a copyright on it. It's from 1923. This paper is, but it's very brittle, so it definitely needs to be glued on to something if I'm going to use it. And I just like the rough edges, so I'm just tearing off a little bit more. And for this, I'm just going to go ahead and go back to using tacky glue. You could use the Fabri-Tac if you want. I just like to just use my Fabri-Tac when I'm gluing down laces. I just don't like to waste it on paper if I'm just gluing paper to paper. And so I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. You don't need a lot. And if you wanted to, you could go ahead and ink the edges on this also, but I'm just going to leave it because this is vintage paper already and it has kind of a nice tone to it, so I'm just going to leave that one. I don't think I need to ink the edges on that one. So I just glued that down, and then next I'm going to go ahead and glue down the doily. And again, this is a doily that I tea dyed a while ago, and I must have used the other half on some other project. So I think I'm going to put that right there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that one down also. Decide if I want the darker side up. This is actually the front of the doily, so I'll just do the lighter side. I'm just going to use the tacky glue again. Just going to put a little glue down. I'm just going to wipe up my glue right here that went through just so I don't get it on my project. And I'm just going to blot any excess glue on this one also. So that's what it looks like so far. And next I'm going to go ahead and add some cheesecloth, but if you don't have cheesecloth, you could also put a layer of some sort of lace if you wanted to behind your photo. And so I'm just going to snip off a piece. Usually I have, well, I actually do have some smaller pieces here in my little bin, or you could also use tulle. I have some little tulle too that would look cute. I just have a little basket like this sitting next to my desk that just has all sorts of snippets and leftover pieces that I dig through when I work on projects like this. So let me see on this scrap one if I have a big enough piece to cut off. Yeah. And I can always trim this down after I get it glued if I want. So I'm just going to straighten it a little bit here. So I'm going to glue that down, and then I'm going to put the photo on top of it. But first I'm going to actually take my little corner rounder. It's a crocodile corner rounder from Memory Keepers, and there's a 1/4 inch corner edge, and I'm just going to corner edge my photo. I just like that look. So that'll end up getting put up like that somewhere on there. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue underneath here. And then I'm also going to add some glue to the back of my photo. And I'll put it right over where I have that glue. So I'm just going to be really light because I already know that there's glue there. Just going around my edges. And I'm going to go ahead right now, and I think I'm going to trim off some of this cheesecloth. And I'll just save that for another project some other time. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I like it kind of the ragged look, so that's why I kind of cut it kitty wampus. But that's what we have so far. And then next you have to decide if you want to add some lace to the bottom of it. And I might put a different type of lace. I'm kind of sick of working. This is just a remnant left over, but I do have this trim right here. Just kind of some crochet looking trim. I think I'm going to put that. I think I'm going to wrap that around her. I do like that, so I think I'm going to do that. And again, you guys can either use your hot glue gun or the Fabri-Tac to glue this down. And I'm just going to use the Fabri-Tac for this. I'm just going to put a small edge right along the photograph. Normally I just put the glue on the lace, but this will work. 'Cause I know exactly where I want it to go. So now I need to add some sort of decoration, I think, in the corner here. And I can put one of these flowers. I could put this. I do have these, like I said before, that I could add. And I might add a button on there too. So my mom found them like this at the thrift store, and I don't like these little things sticking out, so I do cut those off. But you could easily make your own little bow too. So I'm just going to stick that there. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the hot glue. Just because there is some bead trim on there and I want to make sure it's going to stick down. And so I will end up folding this top down so I can stick that paper clip on that we already created. Like that. I think I'm just going to layer a couple of buttons down here, and again I'm just going to use the hot glue. And so that's what our finished little paper bag looks like with the little paper clip that we added. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick little tutorial today. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day and happy crafting.